Okay, welcome back to another pickups vid. So I think I went like 4 or 5 months without a pickup vid, or pickups vid, and then there's been 2 in my last 2 vids. And there'll be another one before Christmas, or at least before the new year, whenever they all arrive, basically. So, yeah, going into overdrive for the pickup vids, but, you know, I like making them and I like watching them. So hopefully you do. We'll soon see. So yeah, I've got 3 for the PlayStation 1, 3 for the PlayStation 2, 1 for the PlayStation 3, and 1 rogue Xbox game. So yeah, we'll go through all those. But it's pretty much heavy on PlayStation games, hence the PlayStation t-shirt, which I thought would be a good idea at the time. Now it's a bit cringe, isn't it? But I've committed, so I've got to follow it through. So let's start with, I've not played all of these because most of them actually only arrived within the last 48 hours, but I kind of know what they are. But it's not an impressions vid, it's just a pickups vid, so maybe on future brews or separate gameplay vids, or maybe not so much gameplay, maybe like an impressions vid, which I've done before. Maybe I'll save all that for then. But yeah, so this is just to show you what I've bought and see what you think. So, PAL games, obviously, apart from the PS3 and the Xbox game. I'm not bothered about, they can be American, but anything kind of PS2, I know the Xbox came out at the same time, but anything PS2 and below, I kind of like the PAL stuff. It's the spines, it's nostalgia. You know the score by now. I know it's ridiculous. I might work on it in 2020 and beyond, but don't bank on it. Probably still going to be PAL. So, first up on the PlayStation 1, there is, this is, I should say, a platformer. At the time when this came out, I remember thinking, I'm too old for this. I did put it on briefly, but I think I was like 19, maybe I'd even turned 20. Thereabouts. Late teens, I think, there or thereabouts, like I say. And I put it on, I thought it was okay, but I guess it was the embarrassment of the fact that it was predominantly aimed at kids. And here I am all these years later, loving it, not ashamed to be playing it at all. And that game is, I'm a bit embarrassed now, Spyro the Dragon. So yeah, just a typical, obviously there's the these spines, which I love. I know they look regimented and a bit dull for some, but I like them. Make it out what you will, but I think they look really cool and artistic. Same with the PAL PS2 games. Even though it's like a wall of whiteness and a wall of blackness for the PS1, I just think they look good. But there we are. Game of opinions, isn't it? But yeah, free roaming, action-adventure game, platformer of sorts, really. And it's funny because they've got the remaster, haven't they? I don't know what's on the remaster for the PS4 and the Xbox One. Is it all the Spyro games? I've not looked at it. Although, that said, the greedy part of me, even though I didn't look, I did add it to my shopping basket on Amazon on, when was it? On Black Friday. I think it was only like $14 or something. And if this was a few years ago, I would have bought that remaster without question, because I would have thought, well, what's the point playing this? This is old. Came out in, when did it come out? Late 90s, isn't it? Really? Yeah, 98. So, yeah, just as recently as about a year or so ago, and definitely a few years ago, I'd have just mugged this off and thought, no, I've got to play the remaster. It looks better, the graphics are better, all that kind of stuff. But these days, and maybe it's just part of getting older and you become more nostalgic and more of an appreciation for the original stuff, these days I'd much rather play this. Or at least play this first. I will get to the remaster eventually. But yeah, I just thought, you know what? I saw it at a good price. I thought, I'm going to get it. So I did. I'm sure you all know what Spyro's like. I'll put a few screenshots in the corner, like I usually do for these vids. But yeah, so pleased to get that one. I've been after it for a while. It doesn't, annoyingly, come with the instructions, but I knew that when I bought it, and it was really, really cheap. But it does come with one of these Winter 98 demo discs. It doesn't say what's on there, and I've not yet put it on. So I guess games that came out, around about that time, funnily enough. So looking forward to playing that. Oh, and also, and I didn't realise this, maybe I read it back in the day, but if anyone's aware, the drummer from the band called The Police, with Stinging, basically, the drummer called Stuart Copeland, he did the music. The drummer from The Police did the music for Spyro the Dragon. I think the entire Spyro series as well, so not just the first one. So when I read that, I was like, that's just ridiculous. And I double-checked it as well earlier on, just before making this vid. I looked on Wikipedia, and Wikipedia never lies. We know that. And yeah, obviously it confirmed it, and I just couldn't believe it. Out of all the people in the world, the drummer from The Police. Absolutely random, but there we are. Now, the next game is in a similar vein to the previous one, in the sense that it's kind of like a 3D platform of sorts, action-adventure, and that game, it's got a load of stickers on the front, but I'll talk about that in a second. and that game is MediEvil. Again, another one that's recently had a remaster, which I almost bought on Black Friday. Same story. I kind of thought, you know what? Yeah, I do want to get it, but I'd much rather play the original first, and then in the future go back to the go back in a way to the remasters. So yeah, it's that thing of, for me anyway, I'll speak for myself, as I get older, I'm really starting to appreciate, the older I get actually, more and more, the original PlayStation 1. In fact, not even just the PS1, but older games in general. Because it's all very well, like going back now in nearly 2020, going back to these older games and judging them and kind of mocking them and saying, oh, I can't be playing these, the controls are rubbish, or the sound's not very good, or whatever it is. But you've got to remember, this is the technology they had at their disposal at the time. So it's not like they could make games that looked like a PS4 or an Xbox One or the next generation. This is the best they could do at that time, with the 3D kind of polygon look. And yeah, all right, it has aged very badly for the most part, but I do still like playing them. And I've definitely got more of an appreciation now than ever, and I'm continuing to as I get older. I just appreciate them more and more. So maybe something like the PS1, the Sega Saturn, the N64, maybe those systems are probably best for people who remember them first time round. Maybe. If you have a kid playing those things now who are used to the PS4 and the Xbox One, then they're probably just going to laugh at stuff like this. It'll be too clunky for them, for most of them anyway. But for me, someone who remembers it, I'm fine with it. I just love playing them. So yeah, again, much like the Spyro remaster, I'll get the MediEvil remaster in the future, and I'm sure it'll be on a pickups vid. But this is another one that I've wanted for a very long time, and again, really good price. Bought it from an American seller. It's in really good condition. This one is complete, and it also actually, there's the if I can get it out, there's the instruction manual, like you needed to see that. But it also comes with another Winter 98 demo disc. So again, it must have came out, I'm going to guess, 98. Let's look at the back. What a surprise, 98, yeah. And then there's a sequel, isn't there? Again, much like the Spyro remaster, I'm not sure if the MediEvil one comes with MediEvil 1 and 2. Probably does, I'm guessing, but I'm not entirely sure. So yeah, really pleased to get that. And then just quickly as well, on the front, you can see it's a bit of a mess. You've got all these stickers. You've got something advertising the fact that it's compatible with the DualShock, or that it's highly recommended with the DualShock, apparently. You've got a $19.99 sticker in there. And then you've also got the Electronics Boutique, $39.99, 40 quid, man alive. Whereas now, what you get is 6-7 quid, a tenner maybe, there or thereabouts. Now, it does look a mess for me, I've got to be honest, but I've been toying with the idea of taking them off or keeping them on, really, I should say, because it's history, isn't it? This is history right here. Someone back in the day put this sticker on. And do you know what? This is obviously ridiculous, and don't think that I believe this for 1 minute. But back in 97 and 1998, I used to work in Electronics Boutique. I think I've talked about this many times. And there's several anecdotes which I've never talked about. I'll probably save them for the future. Kind of funny stories, weird stories, and just kind of nostalgia, if you like the late 90s and all that kind of stuff. And maybe, it's not true, obviously, but maybe there's a possibility that I put this sticker on this game. Imagine that. I know it didn't happen. But you never know. Could have done. Didn't. But yeah, so anyway, either way, it really takes me back, this sticker, because I used to put it on all the games back then. As soon as they'd come in stock, before we put them out on the shelves in the stock room, we'd put all the stickers on. And yeah, I just remember these days. It's brilliant. And also, I can't remember who it was, but someone ages ago, it might have been Eddie, Roller X Core. Oh, it's Roller Core. And I think he was asking, maybe it was someone else, I don't know, but he was asking about numbers on the back. Sometimes if you turn around an older game like PS1 era, N64, Sega Saturn, late 90s basically, or predominantly, you'll sometimes see like 4 digits. Now what we used to do back in the day when I worked at Electronics Boutique, and I worked in the Poole store, and then I worked in the Bournemouth store, 2 towns which are right next to each other. It literally takes a few minutes to get from one to the other. So, and the Bournemouth store had just opened, and they headhunted me, because obviously an amazing worker, and they said, do you want to work at the Bournemouth store? I said, yeah, obviously. Of course I did. Brand new store, everything was clean, and loved it. I really did. For a while I loved it, until it just got a bit boring. But what was I saying? Yeah, that's right. I think it was Eddie, or whoever it was. Sometimes you'll see some digits on the back. The first 2 digits, this is from memory, the first 2 digits represented the system. So let's say it was like, I don't know, 20. So 20 would indicate in the Electronics Boutique system the PlayStation 1. And then the last 2 digits, I think, would be what we paid for it, like a trade-in value. So if you brought this game into us, even though you might pay 40 quid for it, let's say we gave you like a tenner. So we'd write 20 for the PlayStation 2 code, PlayStation 1 code, or just PlayStation as it was back then, and then we'd put 10 after it to indicate we paid 10 for it, so that when we sold it, we knew how much more to try and make for a profit. There you go. You probably knew that already, but if you didn't, next time you have a game, then that's probably what those digits are on the back that someone's wrote in permanent ink. So there we go. Anyway, really pleased to get it, and yeah, just very much looking forward to getting stuck into that one. And yeah, don't get me wrong, I would like right now the greedy part of me to be playing the PlayStation 4 version, but as I say, I'm having much more of an appreciation as I get older to play the old stuff. So yeah, looking forward to that. And last but not least, on the PlayStation 1, we've got a game which, I've got to be honest, I wasn't aware of. I'm not saying I didn't see it back in the day, maybe I did, but obviously there's so many PS1 games out there. And it came out in 1996, so yeah, I mean, I got my PlayStation Christmas 95, I was one of the early adopters of the system. And but yeah, I don't remember seeing this in 96. It doesn't look amazingly great, but again, I had an opportunity to get it for a much cheaper price than it usually goes for. It was an American seller. Looking on eBay UK, .co.uk, there's not many on there. There's probably usually maybe 3 or 4 at a time, if you're lucky. And they're usually on Buy It Nows, around about sort of 30 quid, give or take. I watched a couple of vids before I bought it on YouTube, a couple of reviews or gameplay vids. And it was funny because I say a couple, I watched a few. One person really liked it. I think they probably got nostalgia for it and they were, waxing lyrical over it. And the other, maybe 2 or 3 vids that I watched, people just slated it. They said it's terrible. So maybe the fact that only one person liked it and 2 or 3 didn't, maybe it's not too great. But I was curious. And that game is called Steel Harbinger. Or Harbinger, I'm not sure. Let's say Harbinger. And basically what it's like, you won't be able to see, but again, I'll put some screenshots on the corner. It's basically an isometric of sorts shooter. So a bit of, again, like a free roaming, go where you want, within reason. A little bit like Project Overkill, if anyone remembers that game. I did a gameplay for that about 7 years ago on the PlayStation. So, yes, that kind of game. And to me, yeah, it looks cheesy. You're controlling this woman on the front with that kind of sort of bikini. It looks like, on the game though, she looks like kind of like a robot. Like, what's that thing called out of Terminator 2? Is it the T-1000? But when he's like turns into liquid, it's got that liquid kind of formula. And in the gameplay that I saw, like, she's got that. So I don't know if it's like a special move, maybe a special power, and the rest of the game she's like in a normal kind of, humanish, android-y skin, I'm not sure. But it looks cheesy, it looks a bit cheap. But here's the thing, obviously, when I watched the gameplay vids, I liked it enough to think, do you know what, I'll give that a try. And once again, being someone who can appreciate more and more as I get older, those older style of games, I think it's something that I'll definitely find a few positives in. Even if I end up walking away thinking, actually, that wasn't too good, I think I'll find something positive about it. So maybe in a future brew, that'll be something that I'll talk about, whether it's pre-Christmas or way in the future, who knows. But either way, pleased to get it, and it's relatively uncommon. But whatever you do, don't go out your way to pay crazy money for it. 25, 30 quid seems to be, right now anyway, the average price that it sells for. But you might get it cheaper. But I'm just saying, maybe check out a gameplay or two. I was curious enough to buy it, but I've not yet played it. So we'll soon see in the next few days or few weeks, or whenever. So let's move on to a game I have started playing. I've not got a lot to say about it. I'm only about an hour into the game. But it's for the PlayStation 3, and it's Crysis 3. So yeah, I remember playing Crysis 2 on was it on the 360 I finished it? Maybe it was the PS3, I can't remember. And also, speaking of gameplay vids, as I was talking about Project Overkill, I did, again, this is years ago when it came out. So when did this actually come out? 2000, it doesn't say. I can't quite see. 2013. So I'm guessing maybe Crysis 2 was like 2011, a couple of years between games possibly. So around about that, 2011, give or take, I did a gameplay vid for the multiplayer beta of Crysis 2. And the videos that we do that we just forget about. And I just noticed that by chance the other day. And I thought, man alive, I totally forgot that I did that vid. And I used to like Crysis 2. I took it online a little bit. I thought it was pretty decent, and finished the campaign. What I will say about Crysis 2 is, and I did say this on a brew, or what would have been like a Wednesday week, or a vlog, or a pickups vid, or whatever it was all those years ago. I said that it was good, I did enjoy it, but the AI was atrocious. And so far in Crysis 3, the AI, I wouldn't quite say atrocious, but it's not great. It's lacking in parts. I'm going up to a few enemies, and I'm just inches from them, and I'm firing my weapon, and they're not really reacting. And it really takes you out of the zone. It ruins the immersion slightly. But maybe that's something to do with the difficulty level. Maybe I should up it a little bit, and there may be more of a challenge. So maybe there's that. So what I'll say, only maybe an hour at best into the game, is that so far I've not yet gone outside. All the missions, or the one mission maybe that I've done so far, has been predominantly or exclusively indoors. It's like you're in this sort of like complex. So it's very dark and dingy. There's lots of reds and blacks. The colour, the colours are very dark. Now I do know in the game, and I'll put again a few screenshots. It does get a little bit brighter apparently. A lot of outdoor levels. And I did play the multiplayer beta for Crysis 3 as well, and that was an outdoor level. Lots of tall grass, I seem to remember. So I'm presuming that's part of the campaign. So yeah, so far, it's not that it's bad. It's just a typical Crysis game. It's got the cloak that you activate, I think, by pressing the R2 button, at least on the PlayStation 3. And then there's another one, like some kind of heavily armoured cloak, if you like, that you can put on by, I think, pressing maybe the L2. So, but they recharge really quickly, and that's almost cheating in a way. So you can basically sneak up behind people. They won't see you, as long as you don't make a noise or bash into them, by putting the cloak on. But all you've got to do is hide around a corner, and your cloak recharges pretty quickly. So again, you can sneak out. So maybe they could have scaled that down a little bit, and it would have posed a bit more of a challenge, but maybe not. So yeah, again, I'll have more to speak about this in the future once I've finished it, only an hour in. But if you like your first-person shooters, and I do, but not as much as I used to, I've got to be honest, but I do still like them from time to time. So if you like them, you might want to give this a try. But play Crysis 2 first, because I thought Crysis 2, despite the AI problems, I thought it was a decent story. I thought the graphics looked really good. In fact, I think the graphics on Crysis 2 look better than Crysis 3, but as I say, that may be because so far all I've played is a very like indoorsy kind of level, and I've not yet seen the proper contrast that all the colours can bring to Crysis 3. So I'll probably change my mind on that one going forward. But nonetheless, pleased to have it. Now let's do the solitary Xbox game. Now this is a game I've been aware of for a long, long time, but to my knowledge, I don't think I ever bought it back in the day. For anyone who's curious, I did have both an Xbox and a PS2 back in the day when they came out. I had a PS2 first. I think, it came out first, didn't it, by a good year or so? 2 years maybe? Whatever it was. But back then, I was a very casual gamer. I had a stack load of games, as you can imagine, because I'm greedy. But I was a very casual gamer in the sense that I tended, generally speaking, to play my PS2 and then Xbox, when I got that in around about 2004. I tended to play that when friends came around. Or maybe if I was really bored, if I got back from being wherever. But playing games back then wasn't really a priority. I'd lost a little bit of interest, but I still had the systems, just in case, from time to time. But I do remember getting this, and I do remember seeing this and always wanted to get it, but I never got round to getting it. But I saw it going the other day for $5, including shipping, and it's the American copy, although I imagine the PAL copy is the same spine and cover. And that game is called Dead Man's Hand. Apologies for any glare that you may see. And it's basically a Western. So a first-person shooter from around about 2004, give or take. Let's have a look. 2003 it came out. So yeah, I've had a look at gameplay online, watched a couple of vids. It looks alright. It looks, even though I'm not playing it and I'm just watching it, it looks a little bit stiff in parts. But again, it's that kind of era, so you've got to take that into consideration. But graphically, I thought it looked decent. I also watched a PC version, a PC YouTube vid, like someone doing like a review or just a gameplay impressions vid, and it looked much better, as you can imagine, on the PC. So if you're into that kind of thing, I know a few other games that came out, which I did have at the time, which was Gun, Red Dead Revolver, what else was that? Red Dead Redemption came out obviously a little bit later, and if you go back a good few years, and this is a game I want to get back, It was called Outlaws on the PC. This is when I was a really big PC gamer back in the mid to late 90s. And Lucas, was it LucasArts? I think they made Outlaws. So that was a really decent game back in the day. And again, another Western game. So if you like that kind of thing, and I do, then you might want to give this a chance. It's not very uncommon. It's not very expensive. Again, at the time of making the vid. So you might want to check it out. Dead Man's Hand. Moving on to the PlayStation 2 games. There's 3 altogether. Now, one of them I bought separately from the others. So I'll briefly talk about this. Now, this is a game which I did briefly play back in the day, but not for a prolonged amount of time, just a relatively short amount of time, really. But I did enjoy it, but then I forgot all about it because there was so many games back then, and I just ended up forgetting about it. But I saw this for a really cheap price, and I thought, well, I'm having that, and I bought it. I was the only bidder, and I won. And that game is State of Emergency. So it's basically like a, what would you say, like a free-roaming, isometric action-adventure beat-em-up, really, with the emphasis definitely on the fighting. And I watched a couple of vids again the other day, and I thought it looked pretty good. There's a lot of enemies on screen at once, which really took me by surprise, because I thought that kind of, many enemies on screen, or many AIs on one screen at any one time, I thought that was more of like a next generation thing. 360 PS3, but no, obviously they were doing it on this as well. So, but I don't recall off the top of my head. Maybe there's loads, but I don't recall many games having as many enemies, or in some cases humans as well, so people you've got to save, so friendlies as well, on screen at any given time. So maybe there's loads, but this is the only one I can immediately think of. Grand Theft Auto, I guess, obviously. I suppose is the other exception. But it looks pretty good. It looks in mint condition as well. Apart from some slight sticker residue, this is just crisp. It's almost like someone has bought it in America, because I bought it from an American seller. So maybe they purchased it, or maybe they bought it in the UK brand new, brought it to America, realised they couldn't play it, because back then it was a lot harder to play the PAL stuff, and then just never got round to it. Maybe it's something like that, because I don't know why you'd buy a game and never play it. Then again, I've been the expert at that in the past, just buying them and sticking them on a shelf and keeping them there for years. So either way, really looking forward to getting into this one. And also, just in case you're not aware, you might notice this has got a black case. Now, not all, but most of the PlayStation 2 early releases, so we're looking at 2001, 2002, maybe 2003, most of them had black cases before, obviously, they moved on to the blue. Personally, I prefer the blue. I think it just looks a nicer contrast on a shelf, or just holding it up for that matter, or looking at it, but that's maybe me being a little bit too anal about it. Who cares at the end of the day? It's just aesthetics, isn't it? But so really looking forward to getting to grips with this one. And then last but not least, we've got 2 games on the PlayStation 2, plus one other PlayStation 1 game, which I didn't talk about before. But I didn't talk about it because I'm not really bothered about it, to be honest. It's a Japanese game. I can't see myself buying it, or playing it, I should say, anytime soon. I have bought it. Because I think there's a PAL version, so the chances are I'll probably just play that, to be honest. So it just came part of the bundle, so what can you do? But there's a bit of a story about it. So basically, the seller in America was selling these games. Like I say, 1 Japanese PS1 game, 2 PAL UK games for the PlayStation 2. And the thing is, his price was too expensive. He put them on a buy it now for $20 with shipping of $2.88. I think it was that, because it's very specific. I remember that really weird number. And I thought, for what they are, the Japanese game is just, no one's really interested in, unless you really do want that game. It's very specific, and it's cheap as well. The PAL games as well are very, very cheap. They're not expensive whatsoever. So $20 plus the round it off, $3 shipping, $23 is around about 18, 19 quid. Way too much in the UK, let alone paying that amount for PAL games. Because selling PAL games in the States is a nightmare. And I know that from experience. It's just hard work to sell them, because unless it's a really rare or expensive, desirable game, it's not going to sell. Or maybe it's a situation like me, where you've got someone who's a Brit living in America, and I'm buying PAL for nostalgic reasons. But other than that, who on earth, American at least, who on earth is going to favour buying a PAL game? Or maybe it's an exclusive. But other than that, why would you do that? Because the games wouldn't work for a start on your American systems. You'd need a PAL-compatible TV. You'd need like a step-up converter. I've gone through all this of importing for all these years, so I know what it's like. It's a bloody hassle. So you just get the American version, obviously. So if you're selling PAL games in the States, it's really hard. So the seller was being very unrealistic to expect, $23 for these games. Even in the UK, they go for like a couple of quid each. So that's the market. That's the price that I was kind of dealing with. So it was way too much money. So I watched the item. It did have a best offer. I watched the item. I thought, I'm not going to buy that. I'll wait for the price to come down. Because I didn't really want to lowball them. Because you don't want to upset people. But at the same time, sometimes people are unrealistic. So anyway, I waited. I waited a couple of weeks. I'd completely forgotten about it. But then I got an email from eBay to say the seller had reduced the price from $20 to, I think it was $16. And I thought, well, it's still too expensive. But I waited another week or so, and I thought, you know what, I'm feeling a bit greedy. And more as I get back into the PS2 and the PS1 and all that kind of stuff, I thought, I'm going to get them. I want them. I'm going to get them. So he wanted 16. I made a best offer of 12. And he countered it and said, how about 14? Because he wants to get the going rate. He wants to get what he paid for them, apparently. So I ummed and ahed about it, and I thought, you know what? And he was a really friendly guy, and we had a bit of a back and forth, a couple of emails, friendly, but I just said, in all honesty, I said they're really cheap. 12 is kind of my best offer, plus the $2.88 shipping. I thought I can't really pay more. I know it's only a couple of dollars, but that's kind of my price, because I'm not desperate for them, And I felt a bit guilty because, again, a couple of dollars, why not just pay the extra couple of dollars? But sometimes you've just got to have that line. If these were really rare games, don't get me wrong, I'd have paid the extra $2. And again, he was friendly. He said, I'm looking for, 14 at least. So if you change your mind, and I thought, okay, that's the end of it. I thought, fair enough. I had my line, and I drew a line under that line. A lot of lines going on there. And that was that. Anyway. Fast forward about another 2 weeks, and I got an email from eBay to say that the seller had reduced the price to $12, what I'd originally offered. And I couldn't help but I felt guilty, but I was laughing at the same time. I thought, well, I'm going to get these, not for that price, because clearly he can't sell them. He's realised now, after a month of listing these, at reducing the price from 20 to 16 to 14, now like 12. He knows, and I'm probably the only person that made any effort at all to buy these. And this seller is now realising he's never going to move these on unless he basically gives them away. And I felt guilty, but I thought, you know what? He's got a best offer feature. I'm going to make an offer. So I made an offer of $8. Remember, I'd made an offer of 12 with the shipping on top of that. And he ultimately rejected it because he wanted more. And now I'd offered 8. And about 5 minutes later, he accepted the offer. And he sent me an email, and it was really funny. I might, if I can find it, it's really short, but I'll put a message on. I won't reveal his name, but I'll put the message, like a screenshot of what he said, which is basically, if I kind of paraphrase, it was something along the lines of, lol, you were right, no one was interested, or something like that. Because I told him in the messages, because obviously I'm trying to get these games, that's usually my secret in the States. If there's a PAL seller in America, I'll usually send them a message, just a bit sneaky, and I'll be like, oh, you're probably not going to get the asking price, mate. Maybe, should accept a little bit less. Because obviously I want to get a good deal for me. But more often than not, it's true, as I touched upon before. It's hard to sell PAL games. So he sent me that message, and I replied back and with another lol or whatever. And I was like, sorry, mate. I said, I feel a bit guilty. I said, but you were never, ever going to sell them for that amount. And he had a laugh about it, and he sent them the next day, and they arrived. Anyway, finally, we can move on. But it just goes to show, doesn't it? If you see a best offer, then make a best offer. Don't necessarily just buy it for the outright price, and sometimes maybe lowball a little bit. Don't take the biscuit, but maybe be realistic and send a message to the seller as well. I think that always helps, rather than just send sort of an anonymous bid. If you put a message in there saying something like, oh, sorry, I don't mean to lowball you, but these do usually go for X amount. It usually opens the seller's eyes, and they probably think, oh, actually, maybe I'm being a bit unrealistic. A little bit of a tip for you there. So anyway, the final 3 games from this pickup vid. This is the one I'm not bothered about. It's a Japanese game. It's called Intelligent Cube. So yeah, there we go. There's the weird, isn't it? The Japanese spines, just like a role reversal of the PAL ones with the black and white. So there we go. Not interested, quite frankly, in that game. But the 2 that I am interested in, they're really cheap games. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to lie. One of them I've not even heard of, but I checked out a gameplay vid and I thought that looks all right for the platforming kind of game that it is. And it's called Tak and the Power of Juju. So this is a relatively late release, I think. I'm looking on the back here. 2004, sort of relatively late, I guess. Again, mint condition, same score as State of Emergency, I think. Maybe a lot of these games, Americans get them and they realise they can't play them, and then they just stay mint. So, yeah, pleased to get that. It looks alright, to be honest, in a very kind of slightly childish platform game. But I like those kind of games, what can I say? I always have. So, I did have a look on eBay, because the fact that I'd never heard of it, I thought, oh, I wonder if it's uncommon. I wonder if this is worth about 20 odd quid. It isn't. Just a couple of quid there or thereabouts. So, unfortunately. But hey, in the future it might increase. But I've not bought it for a profit. I've obviously just bought it to play the game. It's probably going to be dreadful. But for $8 for all these 3 games, I'm not going to complain. $8 is around about sort of 6 quid, $5.75, something like that. So that's fine. And then this game, I was really pleased to get this game. Again, it's not an expensive one. 2, 3, 4 quid, something like that. From looking on the sold listings on ebay.co.uk. But here's the thing. I wanted and have wanted for absolutely ages to get the first game in the franchise. And I've still to get that. But it doesn't bother me. I think I'll probably play this before I play the first, to be honest. I'm not that bothered. Here's the thing. In the past, I don't know if anyone's the same. I mean, there's still an element of me which is like this. But these days, if I've got like the second game in a series, I'm not that bothered about waiting to get the first. I used to have to. If I had the second game or the third game, I couldn't play them until I'd played the first. But these days, it's like I don't mind. I don't mind going back and playing the first game. It just doesn't bother me. I mean, obviously, in an ideal world, I'd rather play them in order, but it's just not that much of a problem anymore. So, we'll see. Maybe I'll buy the first one soon, and if so, if I haven't played this, then of course I'll play the first. But anyway, that game, this is a sequel, as I say. It's called Maximo, Army of Zin. So it's another action, adventure, platformer kind of game. And it looks really good. The first one, I think, looks excellent. I still think it holds up today in terms of aesthetics. And this one's no different. It looks really, really good. So, yeah, it's a game that I've wanted for ages. I think, is it a PlayStation exclusive? Doesn't say it on here. I don't think Maximo came out on the Xbox, but I could be wrong. I think it was a PlayStation exclusive. So that will be one that I'll get eventually. There was a situation ages ago, that we're talking probably about a year ago, where there was a seller in America selling the first one, and he wanted another 2 games. I think one of them was like Firefighter or something, which I really wanted, and Ghost Hunter. He was selling 3 games, and all 3 of them I desperately wanted, and the prices were really good. But we got into a bit of an argument online with him because he was just greedy. Basically what happened is, I thought he was greedy anyway. I bought the 3 separate auctions, and I bought them all, and he sent me an invoice, but he didn't combine postage. And I think he wanted like $6 shipping each. So it's like you're pushing $20, which is 15 quid or something for 3 PlayStation 2 games in America to someone else like myself in America. So I sent him a message after he'd sent me the invoice, and I went, I said, thanks for the invoice. I'm really pleased to win these games. I said, but I presume you combine shipping? And he replied back really cocky. He was like, no, I don't do that. He says, because you've got a bargain on the games, so I'm going to charge you like full whack for the postage. And that to me was like red rag to a bull. As soon as he said that, I was like, well, you can get stuffed, son. So I told him that. I said, no. I said, I'm not paying that. I said, reduce the shipping and combine shipping like everybody else in the world does, and I'll pay. And of course, it went back and forth. And in the end, he just cancelled the order. And I didn't get them, which I was furious about. And I look back now, do you know, it's a point of principle. I'm glad I didn't do it, but I really do want those games. Like I say, Firefighter, I think it was called, Ghost Hunter, and Maximo. But they're not rare, they're not uncommon. Maybe Firefighter's a little bit more harder to get, but it's not expensive. But yeah, so that annoyed me at the time. But if I'd have got that, then I probably would have played it, and then I could move on to this. But now, as it stands, I'm probably going to be playing the sequel rather than the first game. But it doesn't bother me too much. It'll be what it'll be. So anyway, there we are. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Let me just put all these together in some pointless kind of snapshot at the end. I don't know why I'm keeping you waiting. This is 20 seconds you're never getting back. There we go. Nice little selection on a few different systems there. And other than the Dead Man's Hand on the Xbox, entirely PlayStation. So I love the Xbox too, I really do, but I've got to be honest, I am more of a PlayStation guy. I just have been. since the mid-90s, 95. So, and going back even further with Sony products like Walkmans and radios and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it shouldn't really matter, should it? They're both really good systems, anything PlayStation, anything Xbox. But yeah, I'm kind of more of a PlayStation guy, as the T-shirt will testify. So that's that. Vids for the rest of the year. Let's see. Now, don't laugh, because I am the kind of person, as you'll probably know, who will say, yeah, I'm going to make a video next week, and then a year goes by and I've done nothing. But in an ideal world, I'd like to make at least one more vlog, a Friday brew, maybe even two. Maybe, if I get the time, maybe one this Friday. But it might be touch and go, it might be a bit after, we'll see. But if I get a chance, I will. And then I really do want to make one, like a Christmas special, maybe a Christmas Eve or something like that. It might go up on a Christmas Day, we'll see. I'm going to definitely have another pickups vid, maybe before Christmas, but probably before the end of the year at least. And I want to do the diary vid, if anyone remembers me doing the diary of 1995. So yeah, there's one entry to go, and it's the month of December. So what better month to do it in than the month of December? Because if I don't do it this month, I'm gonna have to wait at least a year to do it. And I really need to do that diary vid, because I think I started about 6 years ago. It's ridiculous. You know, it's taken me that long to do 12 vids. But yes, I want to do that. So anyone who remembers those vids, that might be something interesting for you, or not. We'll see. And then maybe, don't laugh, I might do a music vid. I'm threatening to do this all the time. I used to do music vids. I've probably done about 20-something, if not more, over the years, but I've not done one for about a year and a bit. So if I do a music vid, very much if or when, I guess, really, please don't be surprised when you see that, if you see that, when you see that arrive in your subs box. It's just for music fans. It's nothing game related. Nothing to do. I'm not into gaming vinyl. It's not my thing. It looks kind of cool. I get it. But it's not me. It's just full on music bands and all that kind of stuff. That's my kind of music thing. So if you're into that or you're curious, please feel free to give it a watch. But as I say, it's not really for gamers. It's for people who like the music. And then this is very much a slim, very slim chance. But here's the thing. I'm thinking, this is definitely not for everyone. I'm thinking of maybe once a month, I don't know, bringing back that football vid. I know I've just alienated almost everyone there. The reason I stopped doing football vids, I used to do a lot of Manchester City vids. I started doing about 6 years ago, and I did a few Bournemouth vids. The reason I stopped doing them is because I just felt a bit embarrassed, if I'm honest, because a lot of kids do football vids, and I don't know, but I wouldn't do it from that sort of childish perspective. It would be very much me just as an adult, just talking about things that are going on in the world of football. No ranting and raving. I'm not into all that nonsense. And just give like I'd like to think, an educated, adult-inspired opinion of just what's going on. So I might do that. And a non-biased one as well. So it'd just be talking about football, maybe once a month. We'll see. I know it's not for everyone. The football vids that I did, I currently have privated. Not because I'm embarrassed about them. Well, a little bit, maybe. No, the reason why is because I was going to put them into playlists, and I didn't do it in the end. So I thought, well, I'm going to private them, I'll put them into playlists, and I'll make them live again. I've yet to do that. So we'll see. That's very much food for thought in the future. It's not a priority. The pickups, the vlogs, the music vids, the usual is my priority. So anyway, until my next vid, which will be soon, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.